Living frugal is actually a fair way of building your wealth slowly in your teens and 20s. However, there are just a handful of items and services that you should never ever cheap out on for various reasons that we'll talk inside of this video. What's up guys, my name is Trevor, and on this channel we talk about personal finance, investing from the entrepreneur's point of view. Now, if you love personal finance and you're an entrepreneur, then this will be perfect for you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button before you jump into this video. So one thing, I do have a Discord server that is currently free and open to the public. Make sure you join that in the description below. Financial Freedom is a Discord community where we talk about building wealth, investing, all of that personal finance stuff, all in one small community where we can answer each other's questions and grow as a community. Now, in this video, I want to be going broad on all these 5 things that you should never cheap out on so I can impact the most amount of people. Instead of going into super niche items that I would never cheap out on that might not really impact you. And the reason behind this is that A, you might click off and that will hurt my watch time, and 2, the list won't even be helpful for you. So who am I helping? I'm just basically making a video for myself. So on this video, we'll try to help the most amount of people so that way you know exactly what you should cheap out on and what things you don't cheap out on. Lastly, everything on this list is not in a specific order, so I wouldn't rank them from 1 to 5. They're just in random orders. So now on to the video. So kicking things off, the very first thing is going to be health related products. Now, like the quote goes, health is wealth, and this is very true, because if you cheap out on something and you drop that tomorrow, it won't matter how much money you have. You're not going to be able to take that money with you once you're dead. One rule of thumb is anything that has to do with your body, so food, exercising, things that will just overall maintain your health so you can live a long time in a long life, is something that you should never ever cheap out on. If you want to take care of your body for free, that comes with exercising. And now exercising is super important. I recommend exercising 2 to 3 times a week for at least 30 minutes each session. That way, that is pretty much the recommended or the bare minimum recommended for a human being to exercise so they can stay in healthy shape. And then eating healthy is not necessarily free, but it doesn't have to be very expensive, which we'll talk about in the next one. The next one is going to be food. This is a double-edged sword. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you should eat good stuff. Healthy food does not have to be a premium. There's so many stores like Aldi's, Walmart, Costco, and Tesco. These are all different stores that offer great food at a great value. For the most part, if you just shop at these 4, and I know I'm missing a bunch of other ones, maybe like Trader Joe's, maybe stores that are specific to your country or county or city that I didn't cover, but for if you're in the United States, these are pretty much the 3 to 4. You know, I know Tesco is a UK store, but those are the ones I recommend to get good value food at a good rate, so you're not overspending for healthy food, but you're also not spending a ton on food in the first place. The third item that I will never cheap out on is going to be technology. Yes, this is very broad, but technology is something that I refuse to cheap out on because technology will only make my life easier. See this new computer right here? I have another new computer right here. These are computers that will help me do the work faster, more efficiently, and more enjoyable. If there's anything that can increase my enjoyment for doing work, I don't cheap out on it. It's because if I were to use a $300 computer, it might do the same job. It might do a little bit slower, but overall it could do the same job. But there's so many just convenient features. I'm not just going to go back to just Apple products, but they just have very convenient features where anything on this computer can be transferred to this, and with just a mouse. Yes, you could probably do that with other systems, but technology is something that I refuse to cheap out on. Another big reason is, the reason I never cheap out on technology is the time that you're finicking with old technology. So maybe an old iPhone, you could just not waste time finicking around with it, maybe trying to replace a battery, and just bite the bullet and just buy a new iPhone. It doesn't have to be the newest one, but just find the best value in terms of performance, longevity, and all things like that. Don't get me wrong, technology can be very expensive. This was not a cheap computer. and I have a MacBook right here that was not cheap. However, more times than not, I find out that you get really what you paid for. Of course, to a certain extent. Maybe a $2,000 computer and a $5,000 computer doesn't have that much difference. But if we're comparing like a $500 to like a $1,500 computer, most of the time that $1,500 computer is more justifiable. Just a little minor inconvenience here and there are worth paying, so you can just kind of forget about it. I'm gonna give you an example. If you buy a cheap phone, it won't last long. If you buy a cheap computer or a laptop, it won't last long. You'll get slower. You don't always need a top tier computer or a laptop or technology, but you just want to find the best value so you can buy that maybe a few years old or a couple years or couple year old technology at a good price that will last you a long time. That way you're not really compromising in speed, features that are important to you, and just your overall workflow. That's very, very important. So technology is something that I refuse to cheap out on, and I always tend to buy usually like no later than 3-year-old tech pieces of technology. That way I have support for at least 2-3 years, and that way they are still very functional and still fast to this day. All right, now we're on the fourth one. Now if you made it this far inside this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, and comment below what would you not cheap out on. I'm curious to know, in your scenario, what are some things that you will never cheap out on. Maybe you're making $1 million a year and you're watching this video, thank you. But anyways, if you're making, let's say, $1 million a year, what are some things that you never cheap out on? Maybe the things that you don't cheap out on, us middle class people actually do. So I'm curious to hear the difference between maybe the upper class, lower class, medium class, in whatever industry you're in, what things you decide to cheap out on versus not. On to the fourth one. Fourth one is going to be cars. Now, this one is kind of a tough one to cover, actually. I'm not saying to spend all your money on a new Mercedes or BMW, but there are some good, reliable cars at some good price point. If you want a car just for transportation, I recommend a Toyota, a Honda, a Lexus, or Acura. These are all Japanese brands. They're known for their reliability. They don't have the most power, but depending on the model you pick, you're going to be quite reliable and will get you to point A to point B if you just want a car for transportation. Now, I know a lot of people like cars, so they want something with more enjoyment, maybe a Tesla or maybe a cool Porsche or a Mercedes, anything like that. But you just need to find your happy ground in between what car will get you what you want to do at a fair price that's also reliable, if that's what you favor. So hopefully I tried to cover this as best as I could, but cars are something that I really don't cheap out on, because if there's a car that will improve my lifestyle or will just make my life easier, I don't really regret spending money on it. Because let's say something that I'm looking at into is a Tesla Model 3, because of the energy savings, and then all the convenient features, the safety things, those are just all valuable things to me. But if it is not for you, then of course don't look at a Tesla. It would not make sense to you. Look at something like a Toyota or something that you like, but also give you all those features that you're looking for. All right, so we're on the very last one, and the very last one is going to be protection. Now, you may be scratching your head. Protection? What do you mean by protection? Anything that has to protect you. So helmet, sunscreen, sunglasses, anything that has to protect your life. It doesn't have to be body armor or things like that. It could just be the lightest thing, like a helmet, some kneecaps, some shoes to protect your feet. It could be anything just to protect you. If you own a home, maybe surveillance cameras, good door locks, anything to protect you from basically dying. I know I don't want to say it like that, but anything that could potentially harm you in a way, I refuse to cheap out on, because my life is worth more than the money that I could ever have. Because if I drop dead, it does not matter how much money I have, I won't be able to take it with me. And you just need to realize that as soon as you do, you'll start to realize that there's just some things that you should never cheap out on, because it could cost you a life, and protection is one of those things. Now you might be thinking, oh, I can get by with those generic brands. It's just that peace of mind that you bought the most premium, the good brand or the premium brand that is tested and by a lot of people to protect you. You could save a few dollars here, $10, $100 going with the off-brand, but just get the premium brand. You in life, majority of the time you do get what you pay for. So, and there are exceptions obviously, but for the most part you get what you pay for. Protection is something that I refuse to cheap out on, because my life is worth more than the entire world combined. If I were to have endless amount of money and I drop dead, it does not matter. So that's it for this video. Now make sure you drop a comment down below and let me know what you actually will not cheap out on. Very curious to connect and see where you're at and how it compares to me. So also join that Discord server, check out these 2 other finance videos, building wealth right here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.